This is Metal with Tom Collier. And our special guest tonight is a Rhino Bucket bassist, Sean McNabb. That's a great place to start, Sean. How long have you been in Rhino Bucket, and how did you get the gig?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. This is Metal. I'm honored to join you guys today, and thanks for asking. I'm pretty new to Rhino Bucket. It's just been a few months, and I was always a big fan. Okay. And I did my first gig with them at the Whiskey a couple of weeks ago.
Who was that?
Which went amazing. And my wife loved the band too. She had never heard of Rhino Bucket or anything. She goes, "Oh my God, this is incredible." And what I've got to say about Rhino Bucket is it's just straight up rock and roll. It's a real deal. In my opinion, there's nobody like George. He's very unique.
Yeah.
He's got his own thing. And I'm attracted to that because, I think being unique in rock and roll is very cool. And I'm honored to be asked, and to do it.
Yeah. And I got to be honest with you, Sean. I, like many people, have heard the name Rhino Bucket. I can't sit here and name a song, but I'll tell you, when I was looking you up to reach out to you about coming on the show, I seen that was something that you posted, that you just recently joined Rhino Bucket. Oh, wow, Sean McNabb's in Rhino Bucket. I'm going to check this band out, And I realized you haven't done any recordings or anything, but I thought the fact that he's in the band, okay, this could be fun to kind of check out some of their music and that they've done before. And so, where are you guys with that? Is there a talk of new music?
There is. And there's already a track that we're talking about recording. First of all, their bass player they had for a long time, Reeve, is amazing. Great player. I had seen him a couple times on the boat and kind of fell in love with the band. So when George reached out and asked me to join, I was like, yes. I was in immediately. And Brian is a friend of mine from Kicks, a long friend. So it was a very easy yes. But there is talk of doing a new record, at least recording some new tracks. Hopefully that'll turn into a record.
And do you get the gig based on your career, your reputation, based on the recommendation, or did you have to actually audition and go and play with the band and jam?
No, I didn't have to do that. I think it was word of mouth. Actually, I think Mark Ferrari from Kiel, good friend of mine, he recommended me, and I guess George went for it and called me. And no, I didn't have to audition.
That's cool. Great to have friends like that, huh? Yeah. Hey, Tom, what would you like to ask Sean?
Well, I was looking at your resume on here, and I was kind of shocked. Were you did you play with Montrose?
I did, Tom. 2 years I played with the great Ronnie Montrose.
Absolutely.
2 years I played with the great Ronnie Montrose, man. What a dream come true. It's I always was a huge Montrose fan growing up.
Right? Yeah.
It was really special, and I wish it would have lasted longer, but his health wasn't good, and it is what it is. But I got to put that on my resume, and that meant the world to me.
I was so impressed. I was so impressed when I seen that, because when that Montrose album came out, I learned it front to back. Every song on that album was great. There was not a bad song on there.
Are you a drummer, Tom?
I'm a guitar player and a singer.
Okay. Well, dude, everybody was influenced by Montrose, including Van Halen.
Sure.
He was the guitar guy, the hard rock guy of the 70s, the late 70s. And when that record came out, I believe Ted Templeman did it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And, it just leapt off the stereo and off the radio. And that's why Van Halen was so influenced by it. And we called those songs the Big Eight. There was 8 songs that were just badass, and we called them the Big Eight.
I'm going to shock the hell out of you guys. Can you believe that album turns 50 this year?
Wow.
No. Yeah. What was great, Tom, and I have to tell you a little side note, is that I got Wild Mick Brown from Dokken. I was in Dokken at the time. I got Wild Mick the gig in Montrose, and he was loving it too, man. He's like, "Oh my God, Denny Carmash is the greatest drummer," And I remember him looking over at me and going, can you believe this? We're playing with Ronnie Montrose. I'm like, I know, dude.
That's incredible. That's I was blown away when I seen it. I was like, he was one of my favorites. Such an influence the guy is.
And I got to ask you, Sean, since you brought up Wild Mick Brown, how surprised were you to learn that? Of course, I know that he had issues with his hands and his playing, but how surprised were you that he just kind of sold all his equipment and retired?
Well, Mick's a road dog way back.
50 years, I think you've been doing it. Yeah.
He's been on the road his whole life, pretty much, and I think it's a little harder on the drummers. It's a little more physical on their bodies and stuff,
Sure.
And Wild Mick is the epitome of rock and roll, dude. He doesn't do anything half-ass.
Yeah.
And that comes to playing drums or partying or whatever. He didn't get that name Wild Mick because
for
he's
nothing.
docile.
Yeah.
One of the greatest drummers of all time. And honestly, I miss the dude.
Sure. Yeah.
He always kept you laughing.
And how important is being the bass player is it to have a drummer that you can like really lock in with?
It's everything, man. When somebody offers me a gig, my first question is, who's the drummer?
Yeah.
And that's, if you don't have that, you got nothing.
Yeah.
That rhythm section isn't cohesive and locked in and able to make everything feel good. Our job is to make everybody else look good. If you don't have that, you ain't got shit.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to ask Sean, Tom?
Well, how was it touring with Dokken too? I mean, when were you with Dokken? Was George Lynch still with him?
Well, I did a lot of years with Lynch Mob.
Okay,
George. But with Dokken, I was in for, I don't know, about 10 years on and off.
Yeah. I think last time I interviewed you, you were playing with them at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And, we had some really good times together. We had, there were some times where, Don struggled a little bit with the voice, but, he always came back. And there was nights where he was absolutely incredible, and there was nights where it wasn't so great, but, it's hard to keep a voice. And those songs are high,
Yeah.
Anybody's defense, but I love that dude. I was grateful for the opportunity and got to work with John and Wild Mick and Don and do a record and stuff. It was a good experience.
What about Quiet Riot? What about the Quiet Riot years with Quiet Riot?
That was my introduction to the business, man. I had only been in club bands and circuit bands up to that point in my career. And I moved to Los Angeles when I was 21 years old in a Nissan Stanza, $200 in my pocket, 2 guitars, 2 changes of clothes, and an amp. And I drove out from the Midwest, and a girl told me, she goes, "You can stay on my couch for a month," So I came out and did the Hollywood couch tour, but I got into Quiet Riot 2.5 weeks later. It was a God thing. I was at the right place at the right time with the right look, and got the job, and that set my destiny. That led to the first Quiet Riot album, my first national album, which was a springboard to all these other bands I've been in, and I think I've done 50 records now in my career. That was the beginning.
You might not know what to look at him, Tom, but back then, because I followed Sean actually since he got the gig with Quiet Riot, that's where I first kind of, like a lot of people, became aware of him. And you would not know by looking at him, but he really had the big hair and everything. He looked like a rock star from the 80s.
We all had big hair at one point.
Yeah, he had. I mean, he had the look, and I think your first album, your album with Quiet Riot was the Paul Shortino album, right?
Sure was, man. And what a great singer. And I'm super excited because I'm working with Paul again in the Icons of Classic Rock.
I seen that. What is that exactly?
Yeah, that's a cool thing. I just joined, or was asked to join. It's let's see, it's like 5 different singers. It's Paul who does the Quiet Riot stuff, the guy from the Romantics, Wally does the Romantic stuff, Fran from Boston does the Boston stuff. Who else? There's Survivor guy does some Survivor, and a guy, the AC/DC guy, a guy who was in AC/DC for a while, does that, and there's a whole bunch of other great musicians
I like
involved.
playing theaters, clubs, or what are you doing?
I think they're mostly working in Latin America.
Oh, well, okay.
So there's a couple gigs in Ecuador coming up, and that's what they're doing now. But they're playing pretty big places, So I'm happy to have the gig.
And then I know you also are playing with Debbie Holiday, who's doing like a Tina Turner tribute. How cool is that?
Oh man, Debbie is just hands down awesome and a great singer. Her dad was a songwriter. I don't know if you knew that, but he wrote a lot of big songs. "Put a Little Love in Your Heart" was one of them.
Yeah, I heard that one.
Yeah. And so, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She's amazing. And, there's only, I haven't done a lot of tributes, but Tina Turner was one that I wanted to do because it was influential in me wanting to play music, because I saw the movie Tommy, The Who.
Yeah.
And she was in that, and The Who's music. I walked out of the theater that day at 10 years old going, that's what I want to do, man. And she was a part of that. So I was thrilled. We've got a horn section.
And oddly enough, she's been doing the tribute to Tina before Tina passed away recently, right? Way before.
Yeah. And God rest her soul. She was something special. And now we're getting a lot of more offers.
Sure.
Now that she's gone. So
yeah. And Sean, I dig stuff like that. I remember an interview James Lomenzo recently did, the bass player from Megadeth, and he was being asked about the fact that, hey, you're a metal guy. What are you doing playing with John Fogerty? And he's like, well, first of all, it's a pretty good gig. Why not if you can do it? And I dig the fact, because people they get in that feeling of, hey, he's a hard rock guy, but I dig the fact that you're willing to go out there and kind of do what you have to make a living, and if it pays the bills, why not if you can do it, right?
Well, I think the key is to be well-rounded.
Exactly. It makes you a well-rounded musician. Yeah.
Just like James, he's well-rounded. He can play a lot of different styles. I always prided myself on that. I'm playing some blues Tuesday night at the Ultimate Jam with an artist, which I'm excited about. And, I play a lot of everything. It's
That's
not
cool.
just.
Yeah. I dig that. And also, people may not know, you were also an actor. So is that something you were always kind of interested in, or did it just kind of happen along the way?
No, I was actually into acting before music took over. I was into drama and stuff at my church growing up, and was taking classes and stuff like that, and was always in school plays and everything. And then I guess it's about 20 years ago. Let's see. Yeah, about 20 years ago, I decided I wanted to get back into it. So I started studying again, and with a lot of different teachers here in LA, and just started building some credits little by little. Got some great experience on a couple of successful TV shows, and learned a lot. And that has that springboarded into a lot of things. I say we, me and a few other fellow actors wrote our own film.
Wow.
This year, actually last year, and we just finished it. So we're very excited about that. That it's called Road to Terzetto. It's about four brothers get an inheritance.
I'll tell you right now, Sean, when you're ready to promote that, let us know. We'd love to have you back on, talk about that, because we're all about that,
Sorry, it's about three brothers that get an inheritance.
I bet when you first got into this, you still had the long hair, so.
I still do.
No, but I guess what I'm asking is, like, when you first started doing this and going to auditions, were you getting like just pretty much, offered like the rock star guy or the musician or the biker dude? Or
yeah, I got a lot of that, but I think the more people see you playing other roles,
exactly. Yeah,
that changed. And I cut the hair at one point, and I used to try to separate the music and the acting. And I realized, what, it's very similar. There's a lot of parallels.
Sometimes it goes hand in hand. I hear guys trying to get into acting like you, and they're musicians. Okay, you know what? I'll write, like, maybe I can write some songs and they can place them in the movies or something.
And I've done that too. But the bottom line is that if you're really serious about it, it's a craft, and you really have to work on it and study with people. And I've been blessed to have a couple of good coaches that really took me under their wing. And because you never want to suck. You know?
No. Yeah.
Well, one thing I like to say, Sean, is that people don't realize, like musicians and things like that, we have to stay. It's really a physical workout when you're on that stage, and a lot of people think it's all just fun and games. But you go at it for an hour, 90 minutes, 75 minutes, whatever straight. They don't realize how much energy we exert out there. Do you do anything regiment to keep yourself in shape? I'm sure you must be doing something, eating healthy, whatever.
Oh yeah, Tom. I just came from the gym before this, and every chance I get, I'm there. But yeah, you got to eat healthy. Not only is the 2 hour show grueling, but sometimes you flew all day, you played that night, you got back to the hotel at 1:30 or something, and you got a 5:30 lobby. That's where it gets to be physical.
Yeah, when I was out touring, it was tough. Being on tour, get back to the room at 4 o'clock in the morning, we would drive to the next city, and it was a mess. After a month, after 30 nights of that, you don't sleep good in hotels. You don't realize you got to take care of yourself on the road.
You do, and my pal Rudy Sarzo, man, he's out there doing it in his 70s, and I always help going, what would Rudy do in this situation? And I can always call him, and he'll tell me what he did, but we all look up to Rudy because, man,
I met Rudy at the Hall Metal Fame show. I played that with Twisted Sister, and I met Rudy backstage. Our band was for that, this year. What a great guy! He said he quit drinking like 27 years ago or something.
Yeah.
I mean, what a nice guy.
Yep. Yeah, I got 18 years. It helps a lot. We survived the 80s, and
that was a tough time.
Some of the lucky ones, because a lot of people didn't. I have a lot of friends that aren't here anymore, and so I'm a proponent of a healthy lifestyle and taking care of myself. It wasn't always that way, man.
No, it wasn't. No, but that's what people don't understand is in order to stay in this business this long, I've been in it since the 80s. You have to, if you want longevity, you've got to take care of yourself. If you don't, you're dust. You
do, man. You do. And there's guys out there that are still a mess, and I don't know how they do it, but that's not for me.
No, me either.
It's hard enough.
Yeah, it is.
Good. And Sean, another thing I want to ask you about being an actor. I seen on your Facebook page that correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been out supporting the screenwriters strike and the Actors Guild. It's kind of interesting that actors and screenwriters they thought to create like a union. How surprised are you that musicians don't have some kind of a union?
They do, but most of us aren't in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I support the SAG-AFTRA strike fully, and the WGA, and we're working on an archaic contract that was implemented long before any of the streamers. But not just the actors, man. It's the crews. It's the drivers, the teamsters, the makeup and hair people, casting. It's everybody is affected by this, and we've got to get it figured out because it's just killing the business right now. And we just want what's fair, better residuals. We don't want to be replaced by AI.
Yeah.
And we just want what's fair, and that's why we're out there. There was 2,000 of us out there at Universal last Friday, and feeling of solidarity was absolutely incredible.
Well, I support y'all. I got to say, because I remember the strike they had in the 80s, where for all that time, like there were no new episodes of our favorite TV shows. And you really see the effect, not just that, but like shows, even something like The Tonight Show or Saturday Night Live, without writers, you really can't have any new shows. And I think The Tonight Show back then tried to write their own jokes, but it just wasn't working.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because my friend Toshi Yanagi, he's the guitar player on the Jimmy Kimmel show and the Jimmy Kimmel Band.
Yeah.
They're shut down.
Yeah.
Until the strike gets figured out. So you're exactly right. It's got to be rectified soon.
Yeah, and everybody's got a talent. The money people are important. Otherwise, you can't have a show. But like without the riders, without the, like you said, the crew members and stuff. I mean, yeah, you could maybe robots do certain things, but it's not the same as somebody using their brain, you know?
Exactly. I think AI could be detrimental, to the human element of the entertainment.
I mean, my biggest fear is, you see the government and certain people trying to censor other people and cancel other people. I fear that it could be used for that. We don't like the kind of music or the kind of show you're creating, so we're gonna, this AI thing, we're gonna kind of program it to do what we want.
Scary, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I like this poster.
Yeah, I'm a huge Kiss fan. So, have you ever met any of those guys? Or
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Paul and Gene are friends, and when I was in a band called House of Lords, we recorded for I think a month and a half in the same studio.
Yeah.
Where they were recording as well, and we were on. The band was on Simmons Records.
Yeah, yeah.
So they sang on our record. We played a lot of pool in the break room and became friends. But yeah, I know all those guys. Tommy and Eric are also friends.
Yeah. And what's interesting? A guy like you, Sean, has had the kind of career you had, where you're not a guy like has played in the same band his whole career, but the name Sean McNabb to me, being a fan of hard rock and metal music, it means something. So, like, immediately, like you say, oh yeah, he's played with Great White, he's played with Dokken, he's played Quiet Riot. So immediately people start making those connections.
Well, thank you, man. I'm blessed, and I feel like I got a long way to go. I'll never retire.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it too much, and you're looking at the lab right here.
Yeah.
This is all where it gets done here. And I'm a professional song learner, man. I learned hundreds of songs,
Yeah.
and that's what I do.
I mean, you're ultimate type of musician that you've been in plenty of original bands, but you've also played like other people's music, and that's all right, because that's what you want to be able to do. If somebody call you up and say, hey, we need a bass player tonight, can you play? Do you know any Quiet Riot songs? Of course I do. I was in the band. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
From charts to whatever, you have to be able to hang in any musical situation. And if you can do that, then you can work, hopefully. And I've been lucky.
And that's got to be other thing, interesting thing about scheduling your gigs, because like one night this week you might have a gig with Debbie Holiday. Next time you might have a gig with playing Ultimate Jam Night or something, and you gotta be able to know, okay, what are you guys gonna jam to at the Ultimate Jam Night this week? Okay, do I know those songs? Can I learn them?
Well, I gotta mention two bands that I also play with, which is the Keith Richards was. That's with the great Gilby Clarke on guitar, and it's myself, Jason Sutter, and Mike Mangan from the Cult. Sutter played with everybody from Cornell. We're actually in the TSO backup band too, Sutter and I, so we do a lot together. But we got a couple gigs coming up, and then I'm also in this band called the Brown M&Ms with Joe Travers, and we do all, and Eric Dover. We do all early Van Halen. And just have a ball.
And so I guess you're doing those Michael Anthony background vocals, because that was such a huge part of that band's early sound.
Yeah, I'm doing some of those, and the drummer sings too. But we're not. That isn't a tribute band. We just catch the spirit of early Van Halen. The Roth era. And Eric Dover is amazing. He sings it so well, and the band is just killer. If you haven't seen that, YouTube the Brown M&Ms and check that.
I'm gonna write that down. Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty awesome.
And how regularly do you guys play out? Do you play just in the LA area, or did you go all over?
No, it's mostly locally that we've played so far, but we're not opposed to travel. It's just that we don't dress up and do all the cute band stuff. We just go out there and play the songs. Yeah. People seem to like it, and that's
what's important. Yeah.
That's all we're doing.
I loved Gilby. I love all his solo stuff. I tell you, I think it was off his album Rubber. He does a great version of the Janis Joplin song Mercedes Benz. And then I almost before I ever heard the Janis Joplin version, I heard his version first, and hers is a little different. But I tell you, he really rocked the song up. He really made it his own. I love that. I love everything he's put out solo wise.
Great dude, man. And he's got so much out there, solo material. I think people don't realize. He's a great writer, a great producer, a great friend. We ride motorcycles together. He's got the chops in a lot of different areas.
Well, before we wrap it up, it was great talking to you, Sean. Anything else you'd like to say to Sean, Tom, before we wrap it up for today?
No, I'll be out in LA. I'll be out in LA in January, and actually, I'm playing the Metal Hall, and I'm going to do a Metal Allegiance show. I'm going to open for those guys. Would love to meet you out there. Maybe we could all get together sometime and have a glass of water, or so.
There you go. There you go.
But no, I'm very impressed.
I've done the last two metal halls in LA here.
Were you there this year? Because I played this year when Twisted Sister. I was there. My band.
Yeah. I played with Doug and Keith.
Oh, you played at the end then? We were the first act on there, held hostage. We came on.
Yeah.
I was there.
And then we did another one where it was Armored Saint.
Yes, it's whiskey.
Yes.
So Pat asked us to go to that whiskey, but I had a show here in New York, so I didn't go out.
And Keith St. John sang and sang.
I love Keith. He's a cool guy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I hope to run into you sometime.
I play with the ZO2 too, which is a New York band, and we play New York. I think we try to get out there once a year and play, but if that happens, let's try to hook that up. Out on the East
Sean,
Coast.
let's definitely keep in touch. It was great catching up with you today, and I'm serious. Tom and I would love to have you back, talk about your movie when you're ready to promote it.
That sounds great, man. We were just offered some distribution, which will hopefully start a distribution bidding war. Because that. But
you take care, my friend. Thanks for doing the show. It was great talking to you.
Hey, you guys made it super easy and fun, and thanks for having me on This Is Metal.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back, my friend. Take care. Bye-bye.